questions. Question orale, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister said repeatedly that he had no knowledge of funds from the dictatorship in Beijing going to federal election candidates. Today we learned that is not true. His department prepared a briefing that said a large clandestine transfer of funds earmarked for the federal election from the PRC in Toronto was transferred to an elected provincial government official via a staff member of a 2019 federal candidate. Why did the Prime Minister say the opposite of what he knew to be true?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the issue of foreign interference in our democracies and our institutions is extraordinarily serious, and that's why, as a government, we have always taken it incredibly seriously, including by building and creating new mechanisms to oversee and to ensure that we can counter that interference and demonstrate to Canadians that they can have confidence in their institutions. But on the specific question, as both myself and the NSIA stated last fall, we have no information on any federal candidates receiving money from China, and that continues to remain the case.
Hear, hear.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, that is impossible, because not only did his own department prepare a briefing for him which said that candidates had received funds, so did his own security committee, which said, and I'm quoting now from Global News, Global News also learned of an earlier high-level warning about clandestine funding of China's preferred candidates that came from a bipartisan panel of parliamentarians 2 months before the 2019 election. That so-called bipartisan panel is the Prime Minister's secret committee. They report to him. He knew. Why did he say the opposite of what he knew?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, as I said last fall, as the National Security and Intelligence Advisor stated, we have no information on federal candidates receiving money from China. That continues to be the case. In regards to the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to correct the honourable member and highlight that committee actually publishes reports to Parliament and to the public. That is something that is very, very clear. It's a committee of parliamentarians that get top secret clearance so they can look at everything our intelligence committees do and then report back to our Parliament.
Hear, hear.
Well, Leader of the Opposition.
Well, the Prime Minister stated another falsehood. He said it reports to public. Many of its findings are not reported to public. And second, Section 21 of the Act that creates that committee states that its reports go to the Prime Minister. They have to go to the Prime Minister, and he is the one that decides what becomes public thereafter. Therefore, he knew when that committee reported that candidates received money directed by the dictatorship in Beijing, and yet he has been and continues to say exactly the opposite. Why?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, parliamentarians can now go to the Library of Parliament or go online and see reports from the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians that were released publicly to them. The National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, which the previous Conservative government opposed as an oversight body, actually allows parliamentarians to attain those top secret clearance levels to look into everything our intelligence agencies do and report back to Parliament, to me, to Canadians on how that's working.
Hear, hear.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Section 21 of the Act that creates that secret committee says, and I quote, each year the committee must submit to the Prime Minister a report of the reviews it conducted during the preceding years. In other words, he did receive the report. He should stop playing word games. Nobody needs to go to the library. What we need to do is get to the truth. The Prime Minister knew that his own security committee said Beijing had directed funds to candidates in preceding elections, and yet he continues to say exactly the opposite. Is he saying that the committee is lying?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to clear up the confusion around what the committee reports. Yes, the committee reports to me and to the government, but it also reports to parliamentarians and shares those reports. So this is the way many committees function in our government, and will continue to. In regards to the issue of whether federal candidates received money from China, as I've stated many times, we have no information on that.
Leader of the Opposition.
We all agree that the Prime Minister has seen the report. Well, this is what Global News says of the report. Global News has learned of an earlier high-level warning about clandestine funding of China's preferred candidates that came from a bipartisan panel of parliamentarians 2 months before the 2019 election. China gave money to its preferred candidates. The Prime Minister admits that the committee reported to him on this fact. Why does he continue to state the diametric opposite of the truth in his answers in this House of Commons?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think we all understand how important it is that Canadians can have both confidence in our government's ability to counter foreign interference and confidence in the transparency and openness with which that happens. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, beyond the partisan to and fro that we necessarily see in this House, it is important to create an independent, unimpeachable special rapporteur who is going to be able to oversee the entire landscape around national security to make sure that the committees are doing their work, that the various bodies keep Canada safe.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, it's not just up to the NDP to protect our election system or the Bloc Québécois or the Conservatives, and clearly not the Liberals. It's all of us who are responsible for protecting our system. The Prime Minister seems to not understand that the integrity of our democracy is threatened. We should all feel involved in finding a solution. All the parties are asking for a public and independent public inquiry. Why is the Prime Minister refusing to implement that? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, I am not refusing to implement that review. I know that Canadians need to be able to trust our democracy and our electoral system. And that is why I will be asking a special rapporteur to be appointed so that they can reassure Canadians outside of party lines that everything is being done right, and also to issue recommendations if necessary. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, whatever the Prime Minister says, the electoral system doesn't belong to him and his party. This is not a Liberal issue. This is a democratic issue. No one should have any doubt about the fact that everyone in this House has been elected legitimately without interference or trickery. And that means that we can't have secret meetings and special rapporteurs chosen by the Prime Minister. Why is the Prime Minister refusing to create a public and independent inquiry, which is what everyone is asking for? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the majority of what my...
J'ai vu qu'il applaudissait assez le Premier ministre que je vais le...
Well, the Prime Minister got so much applause that I'm going to let him start over. Mr. Speaker, in this House, we all agree about the fact that it's crucial to protect our electoral system and its institutions beyond partisanship. And that is why we will be choosing an independent figure to ensure that the mechanisms brought forward are right. Yes, we've heard from some experts who said that an inquiry is the right thing to do, but others have said that it's not the best way to move forward. And so as far as I'm concerned, I think that letting an independent special rapporteur, an expert, decide on this, I think that's the right decision for all of us. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Every day, Canadians' confidence in our electoral system is being eroded. Recent reports indicate that at least 2 times the Prime Minister was advised that Chinese government officials transferred money to Canadian political candidates. This is serious, and Canadians start to wonder why it seems like the Prime Minister is hiding something. So why does the Prime Minister just launch a public inquiry and answer all those questions and give confidence to Canadians in our democracy?
Here, here. Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy, first of all, to repeat that we have no information on federal candidates receiving money from China. But at the same time, Canadians are concerned about these various reports and allegations because there is ongoing attempts at interference by China and other countries, which is why we are putting forward an independent expert to look at the entire landscape around foreign interference and the tools we have and make a determination about how we can not just ensure that everything's being done to protect Canadians and democracy, but give Canadians confidence that everything will continue to be done.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Seems like the Prime Minister is more interested in protecting himself than protecting the electoral system. Parce que chaque jour, on a des nouvelles.
Every day, we are finding out more and more allegations of foreign interference. It's undermining the confidence of the public. People are wondering why this secrecy. So why won't the Prime Minister launch a public inquiry? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, some experts are saying that we need a public inquiry and that it could find answers, but other very credible experts are also saying that a public inquiry would not be able to find the answers that will help Canadians regain trust. We know that Canadians need to trust that the right mechanisms are put in place, and that's why we're asking an independent expert to look into the situation and to bring forward the right mechanisms, whether it be a public inquiry, a legal process, or something else.
Global News reported 3 weeks before Canada's 2019 federal election, national security officials allegedly gave an urgent classified briefing to senior aides from the Prime Minister's office, warning them that one of their candidates was part of a, quote, Chinese foreign interference network, end quote. Can the Prime Minister tell us who that candidate was?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians well know that issues around national security are extremely important to be able to deal with, including to be able to be dealt with by elected officials and parliamentarians. This was a point of significant disagreement between the previous Harper government and our party in opposition, which is why we committed to creating a National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, where parliamentarians from all parties would receive top secret clearances and be allowed to dig into everything national security agencies are doing. And that's exactly what we have allowed for.
Leader of the Opposition.
Has CSIS warned the Prime Minister, his staff, his party, or anyone else that any member of his current caucus or cabinet may be part of a foreign interference network, yes or no?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as all members in this House well know, our intelligence agencies and officials work very hard every single day to keep Canadians, including Canadians of all different backgrounds, including all parliamentarians, safe from the impacts of foreign interference. Their work is carefully scrutinized by a number of oversight bodies, including NCIRA and NSICOP, that allow parliamentarians and experts to ensure that CSIS and other intelligence agencies are doing everything necessary to keep Canadians and our institutions safe.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Has CSIS warned the Prime Minister, his staff, members of his party, that members of his caucus or cabinet are part of a foreign interference network, yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Canadians well know that issues of national security and foreign interference can often be highly sensitive, which is why we have created bodies like NSICOP and NCIRA and other mechanisms to oversee the important and top secret work that our intelligence agencies do, to make sure that they're doing everything necessary to protect Canadians, to make sure that governments are held accountable for acting on information they could have received from our intelligence agencies. These are processes that we have put in place since 2015 that we will continue to work with.
Leader of the Opposition.
Yes or no?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we well know that issues of national security can be highly challenging to discuss as parliamentarians in the open floor of the House of Commons, which is why, over the objections of the former minister in the Harper government that objected to the creation of a National Security and Intelligence Oversight Committee, who's now the leader of the opposition, we went ahead and created a body that allows members of Parliament to get cleared to top secret levels so they can look into this question and all questions in a way that doesn't compromise national security.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, issues around national security have deep implications for the safety and well-being of Canadians and those who serve to keep Canadians safe, sometimes in extraordinarily dangerous positions here and around the world. That's why we've created bodies that allow parliamentarians to get that top secret clearance so they can look directly at everything is done without putting at risk the brave women and men who serve this country to keep all Canadians safe.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
CSIS warned the Prime Minister's office 3 weeks before the 2019 election there was at least one candidate it identified as implicated in a foreign interference network. Is that member in the Prime Minister's caucus or cabinet, yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have created formal processes where parliamentarians from all parties, including from that member's own party, can get top secret clearances to look into matters impacting on national security and the safety of Canadians without putting at risk the women and men who serve in our intelligence communities here in Canada and around the world to be able to continue to do their jobs of keeping Canadians safe. And I know no one in this House wants to put anyone who serves this country at risk.
L'honorable député de Laurent.
The Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle. Mr. Speaker, at a press conference on Monday, the Prime Minister listed the measures he's taken against foreign interference. In 2017, the National Security Committee of Parliamentarians. In 2018, legislation on elections financing. In 2019, a plan to protect democracy and a working group on threats to democracy. That's a list of everything that hasn't worked. We can all see that it didn't work. And now, the Prime Minister should listen to the opposition. What is he waiting for? To create a public and independent inquiry. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, what I'm waiting for is for the Special Rapporteur, an independent expert who will be responsible and nonpartisan. I am waiting for them to evaluate our current measures and see what else we might have to do in order to not only ensure that the government does everything it can to protect our democracy and institutions, but also to ensure that Canadians can trust that everything is being done to protect our democracy, our elections, and our institutions. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, we know that the Prime Minister wants to sweep this matter under the rug. We know that he doesn't want to talk about it anymore and that he wants to move on. But it's not that simple. And we need more than a secret committee and a special rapporteur who answers to the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this is a matter of the public's trust in our electoral system. Trifling with that is a very bad idea. I would invite the Prime Minister to listen to the opposition. Will he create a public and independent inquiry into foreign interference in our elections? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, my honourable colleague, her remarks are a bit troubling. She is suggesting that an independent expert is less equipped to protect our democracy than the opposition parties. We do not believe that any party is in a better position than another to protect the integrity of our institutions. And Canadians want us to depend on nonpartisan experts to make recommendations to ensure that everything is being done so that people can trust our processes.
Leader of the Opposition.
Which staff members in the Prime Minister's office did CSIS brief that there was a Liberal candidate implicated in a foreign interference network? Their names.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've addressed a number of questions, a number of answers along the lines of national security. But I do want to point out another issue that I know is preoccupying for Canadians. Just recently, Conservative Party MPs knowingly dined with a far-right German politician. Mr. Speaker, Christine Anderson and her party's far-right, xenophobic, anti-science, pro-Putin views are well known. His carefully crafted condemnation that neither he nor his MPs will repeat publicly just won't cut it. It's time he gave Canadians real answers and apologized.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Prime Minister's office was briefed 3 weeks before the 2019 election about a candidate that was implicated in a foreign interference network. Which members of the Prime Minister's staff were present for that briefing? Their names, please.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is extremely important that as a Parliament, that as parliamentary committees, that as a government, and that as Canadians, we look into the issue of foreign interference. It's why at Parliamentary Committee, the Ministers of Democratic Institutions and Foreign Affairs are scheduled to appear tomorrow. PROC has heard from Elections Canada, from the Director of CSIS, from the Chief of the CSE, the Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Deputy Minister of International Trade. And to quote the member from Carleton, for hundreds of years, the principle of ministerial accountability has been paramount in the House and in committee. We agree.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, if he believes that he should be responsible, then he should answer the question. Which members of his staff were briefed by CSIS that one of his candidates was implicated in a foreign interference ring? And was Katie Telford, his chief of staff, among those briefed? Yes or no?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Canadians can well see that there are important partisan and political considerations overlaying all these exchanges in the House, which is why Canadians want us to be able to step back as a country and say what actually happened, who actually was doing their job to protect against foreign interference, and was everyone doing the right things. That's why pulling forward an independent expert to oversee the work that is being done to ensure that everything that needed to be done was done properly, and that is continued to be done is going to be important, and that's what we're proposing.
The Honourable Member for Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, on International Women's Day, we must recognize that Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people experience higher levels of violence. They are murdered and go missing at disproportionate rates. But after 8 years, the Liberals have barely implemented any of the calls for justice from the MMIWG-2S report. Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people deserve better. My colleague from Winnipeg Centre has urged the government to create a red dress alert to save countless lives. Will the Prime Minister do it?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, on this International Women's Day and every day, our hearts are with survivors and families of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQI+ people. Addressing this ongoing violence requires living up to our goals as a country and all the calls for justice. We're taking a whole-of-government approach, supported by an over $2 billion investment in concrete measures to keep people safe, and $4 billion investment to support Indigenous housing needs. We know there is more to be done, and we will continue to do it urgently.
The Honourable Member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker, as we mark International Women's Day, we must address the ever-increasing coordinated and dangerous campaigns of hate targeting trans women across Canada and abroad for being who they are. Several hundred Canadian organizations and civil society groups are declaring that gender equity cannot exist without uplifting, celebrating, and supporting trans women. Will the Prime Minister hear their call for action and include trans people and trans women in the upcoming National Action Plan to Combat Hate?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we know that even as we celebrate International Women's Day today, trans women in particular are facing extraordinarily dangerous degrees of hate and of violent acts. That's why we continue to reinforce that everyone has the right to live free from violence. Since 2015, we've taken real action to end gender-based violence in our communities by developing our first federal strategy to prevent gender-based violence and making historic investments to prevent and end gender-based violence. We know we have much more to do, including to protect trans women, and we will do that.
Honourable member for Vancouver Grenville.
Mr. Speaker, on Internet Day, we celebrate the contributions, achievements, and leadership of women and girls in my constituency and around the world. But we can't forget that the fight for gender equality must also be driven by men and boys. Access to abortion is an issue that impacts us all, and we know how important access to reproductive health, this reproductive health service is. Can the Prime Minister tell this House what the government is doing to ensure that everyone has the right to make decisions about their own bodies?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for Vancouver Granville for his question, his hard work, and his advocacy. Here in Canada, universal access to abortion is guaranteed and protected under the Canada Health Act. But we know that in Canada, there are still those, even in this House, who would like to resurface the debate on the right to abortion. This cannot be ignored, and we must remain vigilant. We will, on this side of the House, always unequivocally stand up for women's fundamental right to choose.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Les services de renseignement ont averti.
Intelligence Services advised the Prime Minister's office during the 2019 campaign that at least one Liberal candidate was involved in a foreign interference network. Is that candidate now part of the Prime Minister's caucus or cabinet? Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, like myself and the National Security Representative declared, we have no evidence that anyone has received money from China, and that is still the case. The Leader of the Opposition. I'll repeat my question. 3 weeks before the 2019 election, Intelligence Services advised the Prime Minister's office that one of its candidates was involved in a foreign interference network. Are there members or ministers in the Prime Minister's entourage who were involved in that network? According to our intelligence services, yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I've already answered that question many times, but I know that there's other important issues that the Canadians have for the opposition leader. Members of the Conservative Party had dinner with a member from the German extreme right. Extreme right opinions, anti-science, xenophobic, and pro-Putin from Christian Anderson and those of her party are well known. The fact that he and his members won't repeat those opinions is not enough. They should apologize.
For the Opposition.
Évidemment, les membres du bureau.
Obviously, members of the Prime Minister's cabinet were present for the warning given by Canadian Intelligence Services to his office regarding one of the candidates involved in the interference network. Was Katie Telford aware of that, yes or no? And didn't she inform the Prime Minister, yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I know that Canadians have a lot of questions about this. That's why we proposed some mechanisms to allow independent experts to make sure that everything's being done, that everything was done to protect our institutions and our elections from foreign interference. That obviously includes work at Parliamentary Committee, That's why the Minister for Democratic Institution and the Minister for Foreign Affairs will appear at committee tomorrow. Paroc has heard from representatives of Elections Canada, the Director of CSIS, the Leader of the CSE, the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Honourable Member of the Honour Leader of the Opposition. Why did he prevent their studies, and why is he preventing a motion demanding that his Chief of Staff testify? Katie Telford was informed of what the intelligence services had to say about interference in our electoral system. Will the Prime Minister be transparent and allow Katie Telford to testify before Parliamentary Committee, yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's been well established as an important responsibility that we have ministerial responsibility. We are always pleased to participate in the work of committees, including sending the Minister for Democratic Institutions and the Minister for Foreign Affairs tomorrow to committee. I want to emphasize what was said. For hundreds of years, ministerial responsibility has been a primordial principle for the House of Commons and committees. Mr. Speaker, the member for Carleton said that, and we agree with what he said many years ago. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Then why doesn't he take responsibility? He's been aware of foreign interference in our electoral system since 2013.
Interrupt. There's no points of order. There's
no translation.
Okay, that's a valid point of order. We want to check out to make sure that there is some translation going on.
Yeah, on Zoom, there's no interpretation.
Is there none? If I can just pause for a second. Okay. It seems that with the Zoom, there is no translation taking place. So what we'll do is we'll just take a small pause. We'll figure out what the technical issue is, and then we'll go from there. as an update, in case any of you are wondering, one of the computers, the major computers, has had to be rebooted, so it's going to take a few minutes. I ask for your patience, and we'll be back with you shortly. Thank you. Alors nous allons essayer voir si la
We're going to try and see if translation is working. Is it working? Can you hear me in English? Perfect.
is fixed, the computer is plugged back in. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Aujourd'hui, on apprend qu'une
Today, we found out that a briefing was prepared by the Prime Minister's Office for the Prime Minister revealing a transfer of funds for the 2019 federal elections. Is the Prime Minister aware that the money came from Beijing, from an authoritarian government, and was sent to leaders or local riding association leaders? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, like myself and the National Security Advisor declared last fall, we have no information on federal candidates having received money from China. That's still the case today. The Honourable Member for Manicouagan. Mr. Speaker, according to Global News, the Prime Minister's office was informed in 2019 and 2022 about Chinese election interference. Nothing was disclosed. The information was hidden. Either the Prime Minister ignored it, which is a very dangerous oversight, or he was not informed directly, which is dangerously irresponsible on the part of his entourage. The Prime Minister's solution today? Mandate a secret committee. A secret committee. More secrets. Why does the Prime Minister refuse to set up a public and independent commission of inquiry? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we know that Canadians need to trust their institutions and the integrity of our elections and democracy. That's why we're going to choose an independent expert to look at all foreign interference in Canada and ensure that the measures we've set up since 2015 are doing what they are supposed to, but also to determine if we need a public inquiry or if we need other mechanisms to ensure that everything is being done and to give Canadians their confidence.
Go.
The Honourable Member from Manicouagan. Mr. Speaker, another solution from the Prime Minister is to designate a special rapporteur. The only special rapporteur I know is our leader's golden retriever. What is needed is not a special rapporteur. It's a commissioner appointed with the agreement of all parties in this House and heading a public and independent inquiry on foreign interference in elections. Why is the Prime Minister insistently refusing a public and independent inquiry? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we trust experts. And I think everyone has heard that there are experts saying we need a public inquiry and an independent public inquiry, and others say a public inquiry won't be able to look into everything required to reassure Canadians about their institutions. What we're going to do is ask an independent, impartial expert to look into the best way to make sure that Canadians can have trust in what's being done. The Leader of the Opposition.
If any parties, leadership campaigns, electoral district associations, that is to say, parties and their local arms, received money directed by Beijing. Now, he used a very tiny technical term called candidate, which only applies to a limited scenario 30 days before an election. He refuses to answer about whether his party or any other received money directed by the communist dictatorship in Beijing. That we can assume that the answer, therefore, is yes. How much did his party and other parts of his party get from the communist dictatorship?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, On matters of national security, it's extremely important that we continue to give Canadians confidence that our experts and our officials are doing their job, but it's also important to protect the women and men who serve in our security agencies doing extremely dangerous work to keep Canadians safe. That's why we've created a committee where all parliamentarians from different parties can get top secrets clearance and look into these matters deeply without compromising the safety of people who serve this country.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He's not interested in protecting the safety of the people serving this country. He's interested in protecting the Liberal Party of Canada. The question was how much his party got in illegal donations funneled from Beijing. I've asked the question twice now. He refuses to answer it. He distracts and now claims that he can't tell it because it would harm national security. Give me a break. It would harm his political career. Why doesn't he tell us how much the Liberal Party or its various arms received in money from Beijing? How much?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate and despicable that any member in this House would question the loyalty to Canada of any other member in this House. I understand the very real concerns that Canadians feel about foreign interference, and that's why we've created mechanisms to keep Canadians safe. But to suggest that anyone in this House isn't devoted to serving Canadians and keeping those who serve Canada in dangerous positions safe is quite disgusting.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, no drama lesson will distract from the question that I asked. The question was very clear. How much did the Liberal Party get in donations directed from Beijing? I've asked it multiple times. I find it incredible that he can't stand up and answer with a zero. I mean, if he knows for sure it didn't happen, if he's not been briefed to the contrary, he would say so right now. But he's dodging the question. He's trying to engage in a dramatic distraction. So I will give him one more chance. Answer the question. How much money did his party get from the dictatorship in Beijing? How much?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I see the Leader of the Opposition trying to backtrack from his heinous and disgusting accusations of disloyalty to Canada of anyone in this House. And I'm pleased to see him back off from what was an absolutely despicable partisan approach. But it does go to the point that Canadians need to have confidence that the answers that they are seeking on foreign interference and on the integrity of our democratic institutions are being dealt with by experts. Now, there's two ways of doing that. One is by making sure that partisans and politicians of all parties get classified briefings on that, which the NSICOP does, and the other is to make sure independent experts.
The Honourable Member for London West.
Mr. Speaker, as we salute and celebrate the contribution of women and girls to our communities today, there's clearly a long way to go to achieve full gender equality. There's been a recent increase in anti-feminist and violent attitudes. This is dangerous and has serious impacts on our communities. Can the Prime Minister enlighten us as to where he stands on these issues that continue to hold back our women and girls who have so much to contribute? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I want to reassure my colleague for London West that on this side of the House, we will never accept anti-feminist rhetoric that is violent and dangerous and minimizes the contribution of women and girls to our society. Supporting women's rights is more than just words in this House. It has to be supported by real action, like fighting violence online and in our communities, encouraging full participation of all women and girls in our society, and condemning the use of sexist and misogynic tags on YouTube publications.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this is a serious issue that affects the lives of everyday people. Canadians of Chinese descent have been targeted for abuse in their own country, including right under the nose of the Prime Minister. There have been police stations set up by a foreign government in our country. He's done absolutely nothing about it. We need to know why it is he's done nothing about it. Can he tell us how many diplomats from the Chinese embassy and consulate has he expelled since learning about these police stations? How many?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the selective partisan memory of the Leader of the Opposition is quite openly on display right now. It was just a few months ago where they were criticizing me for standing up directly to President Xi Jinping as I talked about the impacts of foreign interference in our government, in our country. I will continue to ensure that we're holding to account anyone who engages in illegal actions in Canada, including in foreign interference. We have never hesitated to take action where and when necessary, and we will continue to.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He won't answer how many diplomats he's kicked out because the answer is zero. Even as they open police stations in our country, he won't answer that question. He won't answer whether there are members of his existing cabinet and caucus who've been implicated in foreign interference. He won't answer whether his staff has been briefed about that interference. He won't answer even whether his party received illegal money directly from the foreign dictatorship in Beijing. He won't answer any of these questions, which is exactly why we need an independent inquiry that can compel his testimony. Will he call it now?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the excessive partisanship we're seeing and this issue that is extremely serious and extremely important to Canadians is exactly why we have chosen to appoint an independent expert to make the determination on how we can best reassure Canadians and ensure that our government and our institutions are doing everything to protect our democracy. That is exactly what we are doing. And we have seen experts say a public inquiry is necessary. We've seen other experts say it wouldn't get to the truth. That's why an independent expert will make that determination.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He's blocking a public inquiry which would compel him to give answers. His members are blocking an investigation here at Parliament. He won't answer questions on the floor of the House of Commons. He's even got a bill that would allow him to censor the internet. It's almost as if he admires the basic Chinese communist dictatorship. Will he tell us, does he still admire the basic Chinese communist dictatorship as he so profusely said he did several years ago? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we're clearly seeing once again that the Leader of the Opposition is simply not serious in his approach in reassuring Canadians about institutions, about our democracy, about the integrity of our elections. That is why, Mr. Speaker, we are proposing significant and serious steps and mechanisms to make sure that independently and with expert advice, the right answers are being sought and the right answers are being shared with Canadians. That is not our answers. Those are not their answers. It is answers determined by independent panels of experts tasked with protecting our democracy.
Member for Scarborough Agincourt.
Mr. Speaker, we know that unaffordable childcare has long been a barrier in enabling women's full participation in our workforce. Women should not have to choose between starting a family or a career. On this International Women's Day, can the Prime Minister inform this House of the progress made with the provinces and territories in making childcare more affordable for the constituents of Scarborough Agincourt and for all Canadians?
Minister.
Speaker, I thank the member for Scarborough Agincourt for her question and her incredibly hard work. Women should not have to choose between starting a family or a career. In the Canada-wide agreements, provinces and territories committed to creating a combined total of over 275,000 childcare spaces by March 31st, 2026, and to date the creation of over 50,000 new spaces has been announced. When accessible and affordable childcare stops being a barrier, everyone in our society benefits. That's why we continue to move forward towards $10 a day childcare for everyone across this country.
Honourable Member for Churchill, Kiiwetinoong Aski.
Monsieur le Président, la modernisation de la loi.
Mr. Speaker, modernization of the Official Languages Act should be a historic moment. It's our chance to support French in this country and minority language communities. Despite the fact that it's their own bill, the Liberals are in chaos. They're taking contradictory positions, and several MPs are threatening to vote against C-13. Where's the Liberals' vision? French is in decline in Quebec and throughout Canada. We must take action instead of playing political games on the backs of communities. Can the Prime Minister reassure us that his caucus will vote in favor of C-13? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we're extremely proud of the work that our team did on C-13 to protect language minorities throughout the country. We will always be there to protect official language minorities all throughout Canada. That's why we're going to continue to move forward and highlight that it's important in passing to stand up against the preventative use of the notwithstanding clause, an issue which this member was not as strong on as communities might have liked. We will always defend language minorities throughout the country.
Spadina, Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, foreign operatives have interfered in Canada's electoral system and our democracy. Media and CSIS documents have indicated that members of the Liberal Party and caucus were involved. Money and instant on-demand supporters were used to get pro-China candidates elected and anti-China ones defeated. Cabinet and the PMO were well briefed on the extent of foreign interference, yet nothing was done. Why is the Prime Minister eager to turn a blind eye to shady Liberal nominations, sketchy donations, and having pro-Beijing MPs in his own caucus? Will his personally selected special rapporteur also be investigating the Liberal Party?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, Canadians
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are rightly extremely concerned about foreign interference into our institutions, our elections, and our democracy. That is why we are putting forward an independent top expert who will look at the entire landscape of interference and make sure that we're doing everything necessary and give Canadians confidence that the right processes have been followed, will be followed, and Canadians can continue to have confidence in their democracy and in the people they elect.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have for question period today. I want to thank everyone for their patience at the technical difficulties and for behaving exceptionally well today. I'll leave the exceptionally out. Before we continue, I would like to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery. Before we go to the point of order, just let me read this, and then we'll come to the point of order after. I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of Ms. Nusrat Ghani, Minister of State at the Department of Business and Trade for the United Kingdom. We have a point of order for the Honourable Minister of Indigenous Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is International Women's Day, and as the member from Scarborough Agincourt asked her question of the